Hey you geeks! Let's talk redemption arcs. Fandoms can tear themselves apart over who deserves a redemption arc and who deserves to be burned alive in magma. I like how Tolkien approached redemption, using fantasy to express every man's need for redemption and their ability to work towards it. The Evangelium has not abrogated legends, it has hollowed them, especially the happy ending. The Christian has still to work with mind as well as body to suffer, hope, and die, but he may now perceive that all his bents and faculties have a purpose, which can be redeemed. Redemption is not just for villains, but for all dynamic characters. No character deserves redemption, yet all characters need it. The question is, did the character achieve redemption? General disclaimer, when I speak about a character's ability to seek redemption, I mean those characters that are capable of free will, and not personified forces of evil like Sauron. Failure to rise. Gollum fell before The Lord of the Rings began, by murdering his best friend over a piece of jewelry.
Precious.
This fall gives Gollum ample opportunity to reject the ring and redeem himself. If he were perfect, he wouldn't need redemption. The more he failed, the more need for redemption he had. There is no line in Tolkien that Gollum could have crossed to make him unworthy of redemption.
Do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment. Even the very wise can assume ends. My heart tells me that Gollum has some part to play yet, for good or ill.
But even when Frodo gives Smeagol ample opportunity, Smeagol cannot fully reject the ring. Frodo paused a moment in thought. Not unless there is any promise you can make that I can trust.
We swear to do what he wants. Yes, yes. Smeagol will swear on the precious.
Smeagol, it will hold you, but it is more treacherous than you are. It may twist your words. Beware.
We promises, yes, I promise,
said Gollum.
I will serve the master of the precious.
And he does serve the ring's true master. His ongoing failure to reject the ring brings about his own destruction, yet also redeems Middle-earth. For Tolkien, evil bends towards self-destruction. Therefore, it never will achieve its ends. Just like a Spider-Man villain.
What?
Is this what you want, man?
What are you doing?
Stay away.
Vanessa, Richard.
What are you doing here?
I don't know, Richard.
Vanessa, it's me. You know me.
We're leaving now.
All the heroes have to do is resist it long enough to not be under its sway when things go boom. It's noteworthy that Gollum's death did not redeem him. He held on to his faults all the way down. He did not sacrifice himself. Thus, Tolkien shows us that dying, coincidental to destroying evil, is not itself a redeeming act. Personal redemption. Boromir, Lord of Gondor, a great man among his people, yet kind of a jerk and not terribly ethical.
Give Gondor the weapon of the enemy. Let us use it against him.
You cannot wield it. None of us can. The One Ring answers to Sauron alone. It has no other master.
And what would a ranger know of this matter?
For all his fine talk that he would bring about good,
I know what you would say, and it would seem like wisdom, but for the warning in my heart.
he is willing to use evil means and tries to take the ring from Frodo.
Oh! It is not yours, save by unhappy chance. It could have been mine. It should be mine. Give it to me!
This act is ultimately of petty selfishness, no better than Smeagol. He immediately regrets his decision, but regret is not enough. Gollum regretted taking the ring and yet kept it. Tolkien went on to show Boromir actively rejecting the ring's lure by humbling himself to take orders from Aragorn without complaint. "We shall all be scattered and lost," groaned Aragorn. "Boromir, I do not know what part you have played in this mischief, but help now. Go after those 2 young hobbits and guard them at least." By protecting hobbits, Boromir provided some restitution for the one whom he had just tried to kill. But restitution is not reversal. His failure could not be undone. Also, his attempt at restitution was ultimately unsuccessful. Merry and Pippin were taken. But when he died, he had rejected his pride, which for Tolkien fulfilled his redemption arc. When readers complain about characters having not earned their redemption, they probably mean that the character or story ended with the character regretting their failure, but not having shown that they rejected the evil.
One good deed is not enough to redeem a man of a lifetime of wickedness.
Though it seems enough to condemn him.
Indeed.
Restitution is necessary to outwardly show that a character inwardly rejects evil. A good author shows both in a character's arc to convey their redeeming qualities. Tolkien errs on the side of brevity. He often hides crucial character moments between long paragraphs describing trees. Since Boromir's fall was abrupt, his redemption was also abrupt, yet comprehensive. National redemption. I know what many of you are thinking. Aragorn is a good guy. Why am I calling his arc one of redemption? When did he fall?
He didn't fall? Inconceivable.
Few characters in Tolkien lived better lives than Aragorn, though he bore not only his own slight, yet significant, failings, but also the failings of his entire nation, the Westerness, the race of Numenor. Because of the faults of his forefathers, all of Middle-earth now suffers.
There's no strength left in the world of men. They're scattered, divided, leaderless.
There is one who could unite them.
In a way, Aragorn bears the most guilt of the Fellowship, as the culpability of generations fall onto his shoulders. Aragorn is aware of this, and it haunts him.
The same blood flows in my veins. Same weakness.
Aragorn was also tempted by the ring, and while fighting this temptation, he led the Fellowship to completely dissolve. What Gandalf held together for months, Aragorn let break in a few weeks. "The day has come at last," Aragorn said, "the day of choice, which we have long delayed. What shall now become of our company that has traveled so far in fellowship?" There was a long silence in which no one spoke or moved. "Well, Frodo," said Aragorn at last, "I fear that the burden is laid upon you. In this matter, I cannot advise you. I am not Gandalf, and though I have tried to bear his part, I do not know what design or hope he had for this hour, if indeed he had any." Aragorn perpetually regretted his failure of indecision, but his redemption did not begin until he rejected the ring.
You mean not to follow them? Frodo's fate is no longer in our hands.
Moving forward, Aragorn only erred on being too decisive in rejecting Sauron.
We will not abandon Merry and Pippin to torment and death. Not while we have strength left.
From rescuing Merry and Pippin, to summoning the army of the dead, to daring Sauron to open the Black Gate, he redeemed his people by choosing to do what their leaders could not: refuse to submit to Sauron. Tolkien did not relieve Aragorn of his duty to redeem his nation once Sauron was destroyed. Rather, he gave Aragorn a very, very long life to make restitution for his nation's failures. However, Tolkien allows Aragorn to be happy while finishing his lifelong work. Redeeming a nation is not, for Tolkien, merely a matter of instituting the correct tax policy. It is a matter of Aragorn's commitment to recognize his and his nation's faults and to actively reject them. How this translates for other novels will again depend on the author. If the fault of the nation is a bad tax policy,
taxes! Taxes! Beautiful, lovely taxes!
then redeeming that nation would logically include a new wealth management system.
Are robbing the rich to feed the poor.
Rob? That's a naughty word. We never rob.
But without a character's active rejection of evil, then no amount of sound financial planning is going to tell me that the world, or kingdom, or shire, or character has actually been redeemed. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.